White House has officially declared war on the Fox News channel. Meanwhile, U.S. soldiers are dying on the front lines in both Afghanistan and Pakistan, while an internal battle is waged inside the White House over troop deployment to the region. And Senator Lindsey Graham has fired the first shot against Congressman Ron Paul in the fight for the future of the GOP by declaring that he's not about to let Congressman Paul, quote, hijack the Republican Party. Here to talk about all of this is Andy Levy, ombudsman on Fox's Red Eye, Cody Willard, co-host of Fox Business Network's Happy Hour, and joining us from our nation's capital, Jesse Kelly, an Iraq War veteran running for Congress in Arizona's Congressional District number 8. Gentlemen, welcome to Freedom Watch. Jesse, first to you. Let's see. The Republican Party in the past 8 years has federalized education, taken over prescription drug, had the federal government take over prescription drugs for seniors, paid for a war on a credit card, authorized spying without warrants. Is that the right place for somebody seeking liberty like you to use as a vehicle to public office?
It's absolutely not the right place. This government, neither party, should be founded on handouts with taxpayer money, with infringement on freedoms. It's not the right way to go. The good news is, I believe, I hope that the Republican Party realizes that now, that it's the Constitution that matters. It's not the next government handout. That's what the radicals do. Republicans need to be responsible with our dollars, responsible with our freedoms, and understand, just like everyone should, that freedoms are not bestowed by people. It's natural law.
Cody, do we have a one-party system in this country or two?
No, it's a one-party system, and that's the one problem that with what Jesse's idea is there. I hope, Jesse, you'll consider going independent, because I think the backlash against the Republicans and Democrats is going to be just tremendous, especially 6 months down the road. We're not going to get away from this Wall Street bailout when there's $160 billion in bonuses that are going to be paid out at the major banks that are still on welfare and creating new welfare programs for themselves with the help of the Republicans and Democrats. Those guys are going to be in trouble.
Is there any way to calculate how much of that $160 billion is actually taxpayer dollars?
Well, in some sense,
I realize money's fungible.
And that's just it. In some sense, all of it is. Whether you're talking about Goldman Sachs right here, right now, they quote-unquote paid back the TARP money, but they have $19 billion that they got through the AIG bailout. They're still getting the money that every dollar that they're gambling in the market is guaranteed against losses by your tax dollar.
But do you agree with me that we have a one-party system, the big government party? There's a Republican version of it, which likes to assault civil liberties and fight wars. There's a Democratic version of it, which likes to assault commercial liberties and loves taxes.
I think to a certain extent that's true, but I think right now the Republican Party is not even a party, which I think is part of its problem. It's sort of, you've got the more moderate Republicans who are basically Democrat light. Then you've got sort of the Rush Limbaugh Republicans and the social conservatives who have absolutely no problem using government resources to infringe on people's civil liberties. And then you have the more libertarian-ish Republicans who are for economic freedom and social freedom. And I just don't know. I think right now the differences between those three groups are so great, I don't know where the party goes.
Jesse, I'm going to guess that you're about 25 years old, and so you have a lot more time ahead of you in your career than your questioner now does. But what are the chances of kicking the neocons and kicking the social conservatives who want to use the government to tell the rest of us how to live back to the Democratic Party from whence they came and building a real Barry Goldwater-like Republican Party? Can that happen in your lifetime?
The Republican Party can reform itself back to the Constitution, absolutely, and I hope that's not wishful thinking, but they better, Judge. It's not even an option. There is no third party. There's no independence that can save this nation. It's the Republican Party acknowledging states' rights, acknowledging that the federal government has very limited powers according to the Constitution, that the people and the states, the 10th Amendment was not put in there by accident. It was put in there to let the federal government know its rightful place, and the Republican Party can and it must realize its rightful place in this society if this country will stand.
Right. Jesse is in Arizona, where the Republican Party tends to be a little bit more freedom-oriented throughout the rest of the country. But I sense from the look on your face, and from the fact that we've talked about this till we are both blue in the face, that you think this is a hopeless cause, trying to reform the Republican Party. Am I right? And if so, why?
It's over. The American public, after the 8 years of Bush and big government policies and endless compromises with Democrats throughout my lifetime, even go back to Reagan. You know, Reagan actually put forth a lot of socialist policies. He created a catastrophic health care system for senior citizens, his target demographic, with taxpayer money. It's run rampant, and I think the American public has had enough pretend of Republicans grasping for freedom.
Jesse, thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Judge, thanks for having me on. You guys take care, and God bless.
Pleasure.
Good luck, Jesse. Thanks for serving, too.
Is it a hopeless cause to try and do this to the Republican Party, or is Jesse Kelly's only means of getting on the ballot through what libertarians there are remaining in the Republican Party?
Oh, his only means of getting on the ballot is to be a Republican. There's no doubt about that. He can run independent all he wants, and it's not going to go anywhere. That's just the way the system works. But I disagree with Cody to a certain extent. Look, Reagan was not a hardcore libertarian, but he's about as libertarian as I think this country is going to get, and the best that we can hope for. And the fact is, prior to Reagan, you had the Rockefeller Republicans who ran the party. You had Richard Nixon, who was certainly no friend of small government, economically or socially, and that begat Reagan. So I don't think you can say that it's over, it's done, and there's no hope.
I think
let me just switch gears. We all have a common employer, and the common employer has been targeted by the most powerful force on the planet, called the White House. And the target is because some of our colleagues have expressed opinions perfectly acceptable under the First Amendment that have gotten under the White House's skin. Are you surprised that the White House has struck back and begun to name names and said the 2,000 people that work in this building don't work for a news corporation because the criticism of 2 of them has gotten to us?
Well, I want to be perfectly clear that I don't consider myself a news reporter. I mean, I'm a pundit. I put opinions out constantly, and I every day tell people that I am truly at war against the Republicans and Democrats in power. And that certainly includes the latest president from the Republican-Democrat regime. This one happens to be President Barack Obama. So he is my enemy. Everybody at the White House is my enemy. I understand it, and frankly, I don't feel entitled to be able to meet with the White House. I've never felt entitled to be able to do that. I'd be shocked if they'll ever talk to me.
All right, the flip side of entitlement is intimidation. Do you feel intimidated? Because I don't think that our friends who have the 5 o'clock and the 9 o'clock show, Beck and Hannity, feel intimidated at all, knowing them as we do.
Well, I want to also make clear that I don't consider Cody to be a news reporter either. So we agree on that.
Let's make that 3 of us.
Yeah. Look, I don't think anybody at Fox News feels intimidated by this. It would be silly to feel intimidated by this. All it's doing is helping Fox News, quite frankly.
Right.
And
well, do you guys address this at 2 in the morning on Red Eye?
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning?
Yeah.
Or are your minds elsewhere?
No, we've talked about it in between this stuff about legalizing pot. But look, the White House clearly thinks that to be a real news organization, you have to either fact-check Saturday Night Live sketches that mock the president, or you have to pretend and lie that a black man with a semi-automatic weapon is actually a white racist with a semi-automatic weapon, as MSNBC did. Apparently, in the White House's mind, that makes you a real news organization. But it's just, the whole thing is silly. They're acting not like they're running a country. They're acting like they're running a liberal advocacy group. And I think they need to stop that, and they need to figure out that they're supposed to be running a country.
Shouldn't they learn from history? I mean, presidents who've tried to take on networks lose. Well, the White House is powerful, but we have a 24/7 megaphone that goes into every television set in the country if they turn the right channel on.
I hate to say it, but I'm not sure I'm willing to exempt News Corp from any type of conspiracy with the White House on all of this. I mean, this is a sham for all I know. They're working in cahoots.
Let me get this straight, Cody Willard. News Corp is behind the White House attack on Fox News to increase ratings?
All I hear about is that that's so great for ratings, so I think it's like a genius Karl Rove behind the scenes move with the White House.
Can you use that line on Red Eye?
No, that's too ridiculous, even for us at 3 in the morning. Yeah. No.
Well, for the record, I can and do say things like that on Happy Hour because I ain't scared and I ain't intimidated, even by News Corp.
You got it. You got it. Fair, balanced, and obviously unafraid. Cody Willard, Andy Levy, thanks very much.
Thanks, Judge.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.